Okay, Keter. So I'm just gonna say it, and it's that chocolate is way better than candy.
Okay, so once upon a time, I would have agreed with you,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know. I would say the last like 15 years of my life, candy's better than chocolate.
What?
And especially sour candy and like sour gummy candies and things like that. But here's the thing. When it comes to like desserts,
Mm-hmm.
chocolate like is supreme.
Right.
I do not actually, unless it's like cheesecake, because I don't have a weakness for that. I will choose chocolate over every single thing.
Same.
Okay. And so like, even if, I don't know, at like a party, the cake is vanilla, like I'll take a bite just to like get something sweet, but I really won't eat the whole slice because it's just, to me, it's like, all right, it's
Not
vanilla
worth
cake.
it.
It's not worth it. Now, if it's chocolate, and I will go to the extreme. Listen, I love like a chocolate cake with like a chocolate fudge icing on it.
Oh, so good.
Shit's fucking delicious.
Like chocolate. Like
Yeah.
that.
But
Yeah.
like, I want the chocolate to be like fudgy and
Chocolate.
thick and delicious. And
Yeah, thick.
that's my thing. So any other flavor, and we talk about a lot of different flavors here and they all have a place. But if you put something chocolate next to it, I'm going to pick the chocolate thing.
Absolutely. And that's why I really love brownies. I think brownies are kind of I know people like them, but nobody really makes them anymore.
I felt like it was something in the 80s and 90s that we made brownies a lot, but then
Right?
like, I almost, well, so I think people equate brownies with like a dessert you give a child.
Fucking sign me
And
up.
I think that's what it is. But I can tell you, I've really gotten into brownies lately.
You know what's going to happen to brownies now that we're talking about them and we're so mega influential in this world?
Exactly. In the
You know
culinary
what?
world.
You know how like cookies used to be like, but now chocolate chip cookies are super gourmet and they are so completely elevated for like very minimal
Right.
tweaks.
Probably because of food FAQ.
Absolutely. And then now we're going to do the same thing to the brownie.
Yeah. If you guys want us to elevate a product, let me tell you, we have power.
Put chocolate in it.
We got power. But, and so I'm going to say this. I've made everything you can think of from scratch. I never made brownies from scratch because for some reason in my head, I always felt that it was complex. Like, how do you get like this, like fudgy, gooey, delicious?
Easy.
And it is probably the easiest thing that you can ever make. And I want to share it with everybody today because it is really fucking simple. It's not hard at all.
So you made it from scratch from a TikTok that I sent you because I have a real hard on for brownies, especially at a certain time. I crave chocolate. I really crave chocolate. It's not like it's like a trope, but it's
First
true.
of all,
yeah.
Don't be ashamed of your monthly visitor. It's 2024. Be proud of the fact that at your age, it still comes every month. Okay. You better be proud of that girl. Okay.
First of all, I'm not
Yes,
ashamed.
ma'am.
And I think I mentioned my menstrual cycle at least once an episode, which is once a week, which is like
Probably
lot.
more than you should, but I am just proud of you that it is still going. So you know what?
That's a fucked up compliment, but I'll take it because I'm
You're
still
welcome.
ripe and juicy. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very
Oof,
much.
Oof.
Did you just wolf at me? What the
Yeah, I did. I had no other expression.
Well, I know it's not big over there with your set, but in mine, it's very alluring that I'm still ripe and juicy. Thank you so much. But anyway, this recipe, you can talk about the recipe that I sent you, which is from scratch. And then I made and adapted it with a box mix because I have a big love affair with box mixes right now. And I thought, food cures come in all different sizes, skill shapes, whatever else they come in.
Everywhere.
Sauce. Yeah. Okay.
Everywhere.
So go ahead. You make it from scratch.
Okay, let's do this. So you're going to take a third of a cup of butter and you're going to put it in your pan and you want to get that butter browned. So we're going to make brown butter here. It's just really simple. Put on like medium heat, low heat. Don't walk away from it because the moment you walk away from it, it's going to fucking burn.
Question.
And yeah.
When you make your brown butter, do you slice up the butter or do you put the entire stick in?
I just put the stick in.
I do it the other way. I slice it up.
Oh, really? Probably quicker if you do it that way.
And I find like it's evener, if that's a word.
It's not. More even would be the terminology. So, but that's okay. That's for another type of podcast. Teaching Mariella English. So anyway, That joke never gets old. It was good in the 90s to you. It's good
It's just
now.
funny because, I have a master's degree in which I had to write a thesis, but, neither here nor there. Go on.
Well, and back then there was no chat GPT. You did that
There
from the
wasn't.
noggin, okay? Straight from the noggin.
I had a fucking bird chirping it away like at a typewriter is what I had.
Wow. Yeah, we're not that old. All right. So, third of a cup of unsalted butter. All right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say something a little controversial here. I actually bake with salted or unsalted butter. I really don't.
I exclusively buy salted butter because unsalted butter tastes like fucking nothing.
Yeah. I honestly, I'm not going to lie to you. I have no idea if it was salted or unsalted, but whatever. So 3/4 cup butter, start getting it brown. And then in my stand mixer, you can use a bowl and a whisk also. I think that's the best part about this recipe. I just use stand mixer because I'm lazy. So in the stand mixer, I went ahead and I put 3 large eggs, it's 1 3/4 cup of brown sugar. And here's the thing. You're going to whisk this until it gets nice and fluffy.
Aerate.
Okay, aerate. So it's going to get really nice and fluffy. And when that's done, it's getting fluffy, go ahead and put your teaspoon of vanilla in. Here's another thing. Do you know that I don't measure my vanilla?
Me neither. I just glug.
Yeah. Because, if you use more, it's just going to be a little bit better. That's what I do. Anyways,
Same.
While that's getting fluffy, your brown butter should be brown butter by now. Go ahead, take your brown butter, pour it in a bowl. Don't forget to get all the delicious bits at the bottom of that pan. And then you're going to go ahead and you're going to take 3/4 of a cup of cocoa powder and throw it into the brown butter. Mm-hmm. And according to this recipe, that blooms your chocolate. It's supposed to give you more chocolatey flavor. Do you really bloom?
It kind of evokes exactly what it is for me when it comes to cooking. Like it makes it come to life.
Yeah, that's how I imagine it. That's cute. That's how I imagine it also. So go ahead and now whisk in your chocolate and your butter. And then you are going to combine that chocolate butter mixture with that sugar and egg mixture and whisk it all together. You're going to have this beautiful now chocolatey concoction. At this point, you're going to add about 1/2 teaspoon of salt. I don't really measure it either. Just do a good dash of it. Mm-hmm. And then you're going to go ahead and you're going to put 3/4 of a cup of all-purpose flour in there. So it's not a lot of flour.
Right.
Keep whisking it together. Then what I did to level this up is I took milk chocolate bars and I chopped them up into beautiful chunks and I threw it in there too. Use 1 bar, 2 bar, whatever your heart fucking contents. Just use it. Mix it up. I took an 8x8 pan. So it's a small pan, 8x8 pan, lined it with parchment paper, put it in there, 350-degree oven. The recipe says 22 to 25 minutes. I did 30. Okay. So you have to do a little bit longer. When you pull it out, the top is going to be a little firm, but it's going to be jiggly in the middle, and that's okay.
That's how we like it.
That's how we like people jiggly in the middle. All right. So let it set, and it's going to be so hard. Don't touch it for like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Don't touch it. And then cut into it. Just fucking love your life at that point. It is so good. It is so delicious. And it is so wonderful. And it is rich and creamy and just, it was a really good snack.
A snack.
It was. I had brownies as a snack. Listen, I needed a snack. Okay. I had my hospital procedure this week. So I needed a snack to calm me down. But so it was so tasty and it was so good. And Mariella, it was so easy to make homemade brownies.
It is easy and it's worth it. And it is definitely better than the box when you make it from home because I find that it is more tender. The crumb is more tender than when you make it from the box. But I made it from the box with some changes to see if I can kind of get a different result. So instead of oil, I added 3/4 of a cup of butter and I made it brown butter because brown butter tastes better. I just want to add that when you're making brown butter, the color you're looking for is like, you know, when corn on the cob starts getting like a little bit when you're grilling it and it gets that little bit of like an amber yellow color. You know what I'm talking about?
I mean, I was just going to say dark amber, but yeah, I guess we
Yeah, but like just to give you like a visual, like it's that color. So you don't want to go too dark because then you burn your solids and it doesn't taste as good. And you don't want to go too light because then you're just eating shit and it's not doing anything. So you want it to be like a nice amber color.
You're going to smell it too.
Yes, it gets toasty. It's like a nice
it's like nutty, it's like nutty buttery smell you're going to have.
It's really delicious. So I did that. And then so I put my mix into the bowl. I added the butter and I mixed it together. And then instead of water, I added cream. I believe it was like a half a cup. Whatever your particular batter calls for, add that amount of liquid, of cream, or half and half, or milk if you have that. And then I went ahead and I added 1 egg. I was researching, and with brownies, the more eggs you add, the more cake-like it becomes because, it adds body to the brownie.
Right.
I personally prefer a brownie that is basically hardly held together by the outside craggly bit and just fudgy deliciousness in the center. If you like it to be more cakey, add an egg or two. Don't be afraid to experiment. And then I too added chocolate chips over top. I didn't line with parchment paper because I think part of me is very rebellious and I want to see what happens if I don't use it. And it's a dumb thing to do. Don't do like me, but I don't know what it is. I like to test the limits of my baking pans. And I just added some of the canola oil spray or whatever the fuck it is. And I baked mine in the air fryer again, which I do constantly. And sometimes I regret. But with this one, I didn't. Although since it has a high fat amount, like a count or whatever, it did get a little bit crunchier on the edges than I would have liked. But I did bake it at 345 for, I want to say 22 minutes. Since it is a smaller oven, the heat is concentrated, so it does cook faster. And they were delicious. I mean, for a box mix, I got to tell you, they tasted like something you would get at a bakery. At a bakery that had them on a cake stand under like the dome. Maybe not fresh baked, but like sitting there like for the day, like that kind of brownie taste that you're like, it's pretty fucking decent. Like it was pretty good.
So, it's funny you talk about the eggs because when I was figuring out which recipe to use and, whenever I see a recipe, I like to almost dissect it because I want to know why it's doing what it's doing.
Right.
And yeah, so you are right. I learned that the more eggs you add, the cakier your brownie is. And that's why I found this recipe to be so odd because it was 3 eggs in it and it was a gooey, chocolatey, fudgy brownie. And I'm assuming it's because and I could be wrong and someone could correct me. I'm assuming it's because we aerated that brown sugar and eggs and made it like really fluffy. I have no idea why. And maybe it's because we also use melted butter too.
Right.
But they still come out but yeah, I did the same research you did. And supposedly the more eggs you add, the more cakier it's going to be. So this recipe is a fudgy recipe. So it kind of goes against all baking rules.
Well, I think it's because also the ratio of liquid to flour is very different in yours than in mine, right? Because you think about dry brownie mix, it's a lot. It's at least 2 cups of whatever the fuck they put in there.
Yeah.
You had 3/4 of a cup of flour and the rest of it was liquid. Or the Bloom's cocoa powder, which by the time you add it to the butter, it's kind of part of the liquid.
Yeah, it is. It's part of the liquid. It's like,
What holds your brownie together is not flour, it's eggs. So that's why it worked in your recipe, but it would not work in mine because, again, I'm using this commercial mix that has whatever it is that it has in it. And I'm not always too interested in what it has because sometimes I really enjoy the convenience and I really get off on trying to make it taste better because that's kind of like, it's like a challenge for me and I really love doing that. But honestly, making these brownies from scratch is not a big deal. And I love that they use cocoa powder because I hate when I've made brownies with melted chocolate and I don't like the process at all because you have to use a double boiler and you have to fuck around and find out with the eggs and temper them. And I'm really not into that shit at all.
So I got 2 things.
Yeah.
I got 2 things. One thing, you said you added cream to yours. And I once did this a long time ago. And a friend of mine, her sister used to make box brownies very similar to how you made them. And instead of cream, she did condensed milk for her liquid.
That sounds great.
And they were incredible. Like the best brownies I've ever had.
Condensed milk is like a good secret. We should talk about that more often.
Yeah, we're going to have more condensed milk ideas. I love condensed milk even just from a spoon.
Yeah.
And so something kind of fun happened when I was making these brownies, because here's the thing. I'm the type of person too that I will bake over and over and over again until it comes out perfect. When it comes out not how I want it, I'm telling you, I'll just rebake it and I will bake these fucking brownies every day until they become the perfect brownie.
Yeah.
And so I was home recovering. And so I'm just going to start baking them and just see. So at one point I ran out of brown sugar. And this is paramount because these are really fudgy, chewy brownies. And so I thought back to Food FAQ and I made my own brown sugar with white sugar and 2 cups of white sugar and about 4 tablespoons of molasses.
I love molasses.
And here's the thing, when I was researching about brown sugar, and you could whisk it together, but really you just got to get your clean hands
Mash
and
that
get
shit.
in there because you really have to mash the molasses in there and fucking brown sugar right there.
Fucking brown sugar.
So if you follow Food FAQ, you have molasses in your home.
You should have it
And
year round. We talk about it a lot in the holidays, but
yeah,
honestly, and it lasts for fucking ever.
no, it's molasses. It lasts forever.
It's like salt. Does salt ever
Yeah,
get bad?
ex-
I'm gonna
no,
say no.
I don't think so.
I'm not an expiration date junkie. Are you?
I am.
Oh, there's always one in every couple.
I am. That's just me. But I come from my mother who I could call my mother and be like, Mom, is this good? She's like, what's the expiration date? I don't know. May 2nd. Well, smell it. Like, that's how she lives. She's like, smell it. Does it smell bad? I'm like, I don't fucking know. And so my mom's that type. She's like you. She'll be like, well, let me just, expiration date is just a suggestion.
Listen, I had a pork loin in the refrigerator, okay? And I told my husband, oh, it expired, mind you, off the cuff one day. It expires on the 9th. I have to make it before then. I made it on the 10th. And my husband says, doesn't it expire on the 9th? He can't remember to take out the fucking garbage every day, but he remembers the expiration date of the fucking pork loin. Tell me how this works.
Listen, there was one day I had these Italian sausages and it was like, I don't know, use or freeze by the 4th, like whatever month it was. And so I threw it in the freezer on the 4th just because I'm like, oh shoot, I don't want to waste it. So I threw it in the freezer on the 4th. I think it was like a week and a half later. I was just like, I had nothing in my refrigerator. I didn't feel like going grocery shopping. And again, I call my mother. That's what I do. And I tell her the story. She's like, well, you froze it by the 4th, didn't you? I'm like, yeah, it's a week and a half later. And she's like, Eric, I have meats in my refrigerator for like months and I still use them. And I'm like, what? And she's like, yeah. So she's like, you're very okay with this. I'm like, okay, well, the FDA said, she's like, I don't care what they say. She's like, you're fine. Just use it.
Yeah, I mean, but you did what they said. I mean, look, I ended up cooking the fucking pork loin and then I threw it away because he got got in my head about it. And then I'm like, what if I kill everyone? And then it's going to be on me for this 1 day old fucking pork loin.
Yeah.
But there's always one in every pair. And you're that guy.
I am.
I always
That's
sniff
okay.
things. If the milk says like whatever, I smell it first. You know?
No,
Sometimes it
the
goes
expiration
fast.
date, throw it the fuck out.
Yeah. Well, you've never been in need of milk apparently bad enough. Just do the sniff test, okay?
No,
No, he says
I don't
no.
even keep milk in my home. So no, you're right.
Anyway, you guys, make these brownies. I'm going to link the recipe that Eric used in the show notes so you can reference it. And you can try my little doopy doop padoop with the box if you're feeling kind of lazy, which is generally I don't know, the summer's got me lazy as fuck.
I wish.
No? Aren't you tired? It's so hot.
I live in a perpetual state of tired. So I don't know what non-tired is.
Fuck, I guess you're right about that. But anyway, make some brownies. It's the summertime. You can cut them up in some squares and share them with your friends and bring some light and love into your ether because God knows we need it.
Put a scoop of ice cream on top of it. Warm the brownie up and put a scoop of ice cream on it.
I put mine in the fridge and I had to warm them up. I enjoy a fudgington. I don't like it cold.
Oh, I like it cold.
You
But
would.
regardless, whatever way you like it, just eat the brownie.
Just put it in your mouth and enjoy it.
Yes, you're gonna love it.
All right, y'all. Don't forget to leave us a review in your favorite podcast player. We are now, and our entire catalog is now on YouTube. So if you're somewhere obscure where you can't get us on a podcast player, you can always find us on YouTube. The link is also in the show notes. And don't forget to share us with a friend. And we will be back next week with something fucking awesome that you can use in your everyday, because that is our goal, is to give you confidence and to give you something you could actually do this summer to enjoy the season and have a good time. Take care, you guys.
Bye-bye.